Hi, so I know absolutely nothing about gardening, but because I am overly ambitious to the point of delusion, I thought, hey, let's get an acreage and I'm just gonna become a permaculture queen. Despite the amount of dad energy I brought to this project, it did not make up for the fact that I have zero experience. I'm just gonna, you know what, you'll find out. It was a journey. We were leveling a patch and had to move a whole bunch of dirt, and at this point I was obsessed with the concept of a Hugelkultur garden, so I thought I would combine that with a natural fence so I no longer had to look at people driving by, and basically the Game of Thrones ice wall but make it dirt. Hugelkultur is an old Germanic method of building garden beds, just using what was laying around on the land. It's cool because it helps retain moisture in the dirts, adds organic matter to the soil. There's a ton of other benefits, and I just do not have the patience to list them all out. My particular Hugelkultur berm starts with the dirt, then I added a layer of branches and some partially decomposed bits of like pine needles, etc. And then spicy cow manure, fresh and green, and just some straw and grass that I had laying around, and I covered it with some topsoil and some fancy store-bought compost here and there. You can always find these big piles of brush just hanging out in the woods. What's nice about them is they're already breaking down. I like that these piles have big branches, little sticks, pine needles, and at the bottom of these brush piles, it's actually pretty well decomposed at this point, so I snatched up all that goodness. Since I have an overwhelming amount of carbon in this Hugelkultur berm, I thought it'd be good to grab some good old nitrogen. I called the Forest Service to make sure it was okay I was grabbing all of this. I can't tell you how awkward the conversation got when I asked her if I could take cow shit. I sometimes still think about it at night. I had a respectable load, so it was time to basically take all this trash back to my place and start working on the berm. Due to the sheer laziness of how we shaped this berm, it just did not do well over the winter. So everything that we planted here, like these cool fast-growing willows, the water would just run off and they kind of mostly died, along with these sad mammoth sunflowers. So decided I had to reshape it. I had all this brush laying around from those fence panels I made, so I just used that instead of going back out and getting more, and I also had some straw with mushrooms growing in it, so that was kind of cool. Then I added some special ingredients instead of cow shit for nitrogen. This took about 2 weeks to reshape by hand with just a shovel and whatever this hand tiller is. I listened to the Tunnel 29 podcast because it's about digging a tunnel underneath the Berlin Wall to escape East Germany. And that's what this project started to feel like emotionally. But hey, We got a 2-tier, nice looking Hugelkultur berm. Then I sowed a bag of wildflower seeds, like the gentle festival girl I wish I was. So a lot of these wildflower seeds end up blowing away, but I'm not mad about the results. But these sunflowers, boy, did they take off, and they just would not stop. I really enjoyed seeing all of the pollinators come around with the wildflowers, and I love the bugs living in the heads of the sunflowers. Here's the most industrious cricket I've ever seen in my life. The sunflowers, like, I can't tell you how much of a problem they became. Like, it's great because they're good at repairing the soil, but I had 3 pickup loads at the end of the season I had to take to the dump because I didn't want them to reseed and just take over next year. See, this is the one seed that germinated, but I tried inside. I just spent the whole summer experimenting, but it left me with these plants in total, so I decided that maybe going the more traditional nursery route would be a better idea, even though it's quite a bit more expensive. This sage was a lesson in overwatering, and there's many lessons about deer. For every plant that I really struggled with, I did learn a lot, so I would just kind of Google it. I downloaded one of those plant apps on my phone so I could remember what they were and keep track of what they wanted and how to fix them. And my plan is on the top tier to put more tall plants that will be around like 3 to 6 feet tall and just fill it in. And I'd figure over the years I would end up with that natural fence I originally wanted, but it's gonna take some time. I know, I'm just not patient. One thing I would change though is I would have put a bigger layer of dirt on top of the other materials, so I had to overcompensate. But honestly, the soil needed some amending anyways, so mix in a few inches on top, kind of maintain the 2-tier, and I like the little mounds actually here and there. I think it makes it look a little bit more natural. So it's definitely not the full fantasy I envisioned when I was ordering seeds in the spring of this year. At least 70% of my efforts died, but that's cool because I at least learned what worked and what didn't work. I think there's a nice base that will return next year, and I'll just have to fill in the gaps come spring 2020. Wait, no, 2022. Jesus. Mark my words, if it's the last thing I do, this ugly ass berm is gonna be lush and gorgeous. And everyone's gonna be sorry next summer. I don't know why I'm so aggressive about it. I'm positive there will be more Hugelkultur content come next year. So we're just gonna make it a series.